now I'm doing a cartoon version of Hamlet, you know, which is really what he is. But you know what I mean? Life just throws nothing but curveballs, and I'm always encouraging young people to take school seriously because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Agreed.
So now we're down to one mystery. Loren, let's hear about your casting, how you were brought in, and
well, first of all, I'm thrilled to hear about the golden glory days when only 500 people would read for things. That was the day, because literally it's thousands now. So I mean, 500 was a lot at the time, but it's really much more daunting. But I actually didn't know how I got cast in this until just recently, because they did a little featurette on me for the Batman and Harley Quinn DVD. And it was like a 12-minute thing about my career, and they were interviewing Bruce, and he was like, oh yeah, I knew I wanted Loren right away. I was like, well, I wish I'd known that. Because, you know, I went through a call, I think maybe 2 callbacks, maybe, I think. But I guess he wanted me right away, and it was really nice to hear. And I mean, you would know better than because behind the scenes of how I was.
You know, even though there may be one actor that you really want to use, you have to look at how they sound compared to the other actors. So once you line up the other part of the cast, you can say, that actor fits in, or that actor sounds just like this other actor, so I can't use them even though they're really good. So it did take a little bit of time because we were assembling the whole cast. I don't remember how, did Rama come in right at the very beginning? He did. Did Rama come in?
Yeah, I was in the pilot,
yeah.
and then he disappeared for a while, and he came back later on.
Right.
But I was, of course, a huge fan of the '60s Batman series. Grew up with Burt Ward and Adam West. So I mean, it was kind of an influence, very much an influence. How Burt Ward, the energy that he brought to the part. So that influenced the way that I created the character. But you know, Kevin and I talk about this all the time when we come to these things. It was just another great job. Like, oh, this is a great job. This is really fun, a great job. And then we're going to move on to another job. We had no idea 27 years later.
No idea.
So at the time, we were, you know, excited and thrilled to be doing it, but then it was like, okay, and I'm not going to go to audition for something else.
Each time you go in, you know, the way Hollywood is structured, a lot of people don't realize, each time you go into a booking, you sign a whole new set of contracts. So it's not like you signed to do a series. Every day you go in, you're signing new contracts when you do voiceovers. So all you're guaranteed is that day. So people say, what's it like to play a role for 27 years? I go, well, that's, you know, 365 days times 27, because each day was a new contract. You're always on tender hooks. There's no guarantees.
let's talk a bit about Robin's Reckoning. You won the Emmy, the great writer and songwriter,
Randy Rogel.
Randy Rogel, yeah, from Animaniacs. He wrote that. So tell me a bit about what you thought when you read the script, and then also I just love the intensity that you brought to your voice. It really just showed your hatred for the Tony Zuko character.
Oh, thank you. Boy, that was such a good set of scripts. I mean, it was a 2-parter, and you got the whole backstory. We didn't know anything about the backstory up to that point in the series. And so when I read it, I was just really wowed, and I couldn't wait to record it. Everybody tells me their favorite episode for Robin is Robin's Reckoning, and you know, I can't argue with that.
And you got a great actor for the voice of the young Robin. Talk about that casting process.
Wouldn't that be so good if I could remember? Do you remember who it was?
I don't have that. I do have Thomas F. Wilson for Tony Zuko. And he did a
I
great
remember
job.
that. Tom Wilson. Remember who that is from Back to the Future? What's the character's name? Biff. Yeah. And who still works now is terrific. But I honestly can't tell you I remember who the kid was. The thing about casting kids is, especially young boy kids, is their voices change. And so they're wonderful, and they're great actors, and you love them, and the next time they come in, they sound like a man. And so you have to recast them, which is heartbreaking. It really is.
And that's why I became Nightwing, because I became a man.
Well, what was so cool? Loren has that wonderful ability to sound very youthful, and even when I first met him, he was already an adult man. But he had a very youthful voice and could pull it off, which is part of why you got the gig, was because he could convincingly do that. And you know, that issue with kid voices, young boy voices changing is why Nancy Cartwright is Bart Simpson. Because they never had to recast her, they never had to, and you know, I directed a series for Nickelodeon called Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that was one of the series where they actually let the character age with the actor. So if you watch the animation that you'll see, like the kid's muscles start developing, right? He starts with very kid-like arms, very kind of straight, no muscle definition. And as he gets older, he gets more defined and his voice gets deeper, and we were able to keep the same actor, which is a lovely thing. So my point is, this kid was probably fantastic because I cast him and he was probably quite wonderful. There must have been something he did that was Loren-like, though, which is why I was cast him. So I apologize to that young actor, whoever he is, and he's probably Leo DiCaprio or something.
I was looking at episodes where everyone appeared together, and one of those that was very good was House and Garden, where Ivy turns over a new leaf, at least we think.
My favorite episode. This is where Ivy gets to live a fantasy that I suspect that she's always had, which is to have a husband and children and a home and feel part of. And she convinces Batman, well, sort of, he's a little skeptical. He can't believe it because she seems that she's turned over a new leaf. She has this lovely husband and these darling little children, and she keeps saying to him, I've changed, really I have. Yes, it's me, you can believe it. And then later on, it turns out, no, she really hasn't. The husband and the children are plant-based. So, hello, they're not actually people. And she becomes heartbroken and evil at the same time. So this was I thanked the writers afterwards for the real acting chops I got to display when I was doing this particular one. It's my favorite. In fact, I think about it and I cry a little because, you know, every villain is the hero of their own story. So if Poison Ivy seems like one of the best villains and very evil, she really has a reason for what she's doing, which is that she's trying to save all the plant life on the planet. So for her, it makes sense. This one, she got to be closer to a real human being with all those wonderful things that women can do with husbands and children and so on, you know, and she never can be that, and she realized it, and it's very sad. So I love that one, thank you.
Yes, such a great performance. And then Kevin and Loren were fighting giant cactuses once they, So I'm curious, let's talk a bit about Harley and Ivy, which is such it speaks to a lot of people on so many levels, especially with the abusive relationship that's highlighted between the Joker and Harley, and how Ivy is this very independent woman with self-confidence and respect, and she's trying to sort of give Harley her freedom, whether she wants it or not.
Well, this has been interesting in the Comic-Cons because several young women have come up to me and said, and this is the truth, that there was abuse in their childhood from males who were more powerful. And that when they saw the show and saw Harley being told by Poison Ivy that you do not let men do that to you, it is not okay, that it changed their lives. And to know as an actor that something that you did had that kind of effect. And they come up to me, the young women, with tears in their eyes because they're remembering the abuse. It's kind of overwhelming, and it's an honor to have played a character that has this very, very important message, certainly in the Me Too days that we're living in now. It is not okay to allow yourself to be abused. So that interesting combination, Arlene Sorkin, who plays Harley Quinn, is a good friend of mine, and we talk about this, that we hope that the characters convey that message. They also convey a bunch of crazy, nutsy things, but that's a whole other story.
Well, that's the thing. Harley's nuts. I mean, she's
Harley is
she's
nuts.
crazy.
No, Poison
So
Ivy
she
looks
tolerated
sane
it.
compared to
Right.
Harley.
And so Ivy is explaining to this crazy person that's not the appropriate way to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Another really deep emotional episode, and I think this is your favorite, Kevin, is Perchance to Dream, where Batman gets everything he thought he wanted in his dream. And you got to play your own father, and that was a very great performance.
Yeah, it is a favorite episode of mine. And I got to play Batman Bruce Wayne, and then Batman drugged, and then young Bruce Wayne, and then Thomas Wayne, the father. So there were 5 different characters that had to be relatable but distinct. Do you remember, I originally wanted to do it in real time to record. Can I record these characters in real time, like acting with myself? And Andrea said, you want to act with yourself? And I said, yeah, I'm the best actor I know. I can't think of anything I'd rather do. I'm just kidding.
I think we tried.
We did do it that way for a while. And then he said, okay, now that you've gotten to play with yourself, let's do each character separately, and then we'll edit it together. But to me, the whole drama of Batman is the drama of his childhood, the psychology, the damage that was done to him. And the triumph of him is how he triumphs over such adversity and doesn't let it destroy him. It's such a model for all of us. And I think it's the real kernel of the show. So anything that goes back to that formation of him, I think is a great story, like Mask of the Phantasm. I think it's the best Batman movie.
It is.
It's the best Batman.
Seconded.
Because it tells the whole genesis of where he came from, and then he confronts the vow he made to his parents because he falls in love. But
With someone named Andrea.
Just say. Andrea.
Just say.
But to get back to Perchance to Dream, it's because he's drugged and he goes back to his childhood and he's talking to his parents and I just loved acting that role.
I'm trying to remember exactly because I love that episode too, but it's a Mad Hatter
Mad
episode,
Hatter,
right?
yeah.
Now, do you ever speak, is it Mad Hatter who's speaking as Batman at some point? Aren't you fighting against Mad Hatter at one point in the dream?
Once the mask comes off, it's Mad Hatter's voice, yeah, but when he's Batman.
Acting-wise, I'm asking, did you ever have to channel?
I think we did.
I think so too.
I think we did.
I think we kind of messed a little bit with the timing and the rhythm
Of doing the Mad Hatter voice
Exactly.
as Batman.
Exactly, but we wanted it to be very, not noticeable at all, very subtle, so that afterwards you go, oh, I did hear that. But
And that was
you
Roddy
didn't keep it up.
McDowell.
Correct.
Roddy
Lucky.
McDowell. I mean, the cast that we had, the guest stars,
I
were
have to
incredible.
say, people have given me lots of compliments about the casting on that show. The reality is, you call up an agent and you say, I'm working on this show. It's called Batman. You don't have to go any farther than that. They're listing off their clients that they know want to be a part of it. It's not like a brand new show that you have to go, it's this show about this guy whose parents got murdered and blah, blah. They know what it is and everybody wants to be a part of the show.
But that happened once it had been established, once people saw. You told me in that first interview, you said, I have no trouble getting anyone on the show because everyone sees it.
Right.
This is the classiest show on TV.
Right,
This
and
is just so beautiful.
that's absolutely true. But what I'm saying is, when you're a casting director and you call and the first thing you have to do is describe the show. Who is Batman? Well, they know who Batman is, just generally. From Adam West, from comic books, however they know Batman. They're familiar with the characters. And so many actors, this is how Mark Hamill came to us. Mark Hamill reached out to me and said, through his agent, I want to be a part of the Batman series. And so I brought him in for a guest, and he came in and he was great. He had all kinds of wonderful Star Wars stories to tell us. And he was very generous with those stories. And he stayed a long time after the session and enthralled us and talking. As Marcus wanted to.
He tells stories,
Great.
man.
They're great. And he
They're
does
great.
that because they're so good. But he put me aside at the end of that and said, thank you for this gig, it was fabulous, but I really want to be a part of the Batman series. I did not know what a collector he was, what an expert on the field he was.
Oh, yeah.
He knows so much. And so coincidentally at the time, we were casting the Joker, recasting the Joker really. And it just worked out perfectly. It really was a perfect combination of timing where he became our Joker, and again, 27 years later, is still voicing the Joker.
And a secret weapon we had in developing the show was Andrea. People don't realize, I don't think a lot of the audience realizes, voice acting is acting. It's acting. You create a full character as much as you would if it was on stage. But you only have your voice to tell the story. You don't have your body to tell the story to the audience. You only have your voice. And so to have someone guiding you who started training as an actress and then got into the technical side of the business, but so she knew how actors think. And you know, a dirty little secret in Hollywood is that actors are not really respected by a lot of people. They're kind of tolerated, but they're not respected. And Andrea really respects what actors have to deal with. She knows how hard our lives are. She knows how temporary jobs are. And she honors you when you come in. She honors your intellect. And she coaxes the performance out of you, knowing how to talk to actors. If you give an actor a line reading, it's always going to sound like someone imitating your line reading. But if you can guide them to the line reading, if you can get them to, if you can inspire them to go where you want them to go, then it'll sound organic, and it'll sound fresh, and it'll be unique to that actor. And she's great at getting that out of people.
It's incredible.
I just want to add one thing. You know, very rarely now when an animated series is done, are you in the room with people? And it was so wonderful that we were always there. Actually, the entire cast was always there, unless it was Frank Welker who had 50 other bookings to go to. But everybody was there, and it was done like a play. And when Andrea was directing us, we would get through quite a bit of the script before she'd stop us if there's a mistake or wanted something different, or if the producers wanted something different. But we would actually be doing this like a play, and we all had theater backgrounds, so that was very exciting to us, and that's setting up that atmosphere was very important.
It's called ensemble recording, when you record all the actors together, and why I really endorse that so much is an enormous part of acting is reacting.
Yeah.
And so if you actually can play a scene where you hear Poison Ivy and Batman and Robin all play a scene together, you can run that scene once, twice, and you know if it worked or not. You can tell right there. And then you can make an adjustment to all three of them at the same time and say, okay, that scene is really taking place someplace where you have to be very quiet. So no, because we do, when we record actors separately, you do get a scene where someone is talking like this, and the next guy is talking like this, and then we have to go back in and revoice it to make it make sense. So any of those adjustments, when the actors are in the room at the same time, they can react to each other. Kevin may give Diane the cue a little bit differently, and that will get a different reaction from her. And then that will make Loren's response a little bit different. And that's organic and real and in the moment and exciting.
Acting is as much reacting as it is acting. And you can only react to the other actor if they're there. If you're acting in a vacuum, you're not reacting to anybody. So I love the fact that you got us all there.
And unfortunately, almost none are done that way.
No one else does it though.
Because people are all over the world, people are very, very busy schedules, whatever, you know, it's sad, because it was just a joy. You know, I had Mark Hamill on my right, and Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. on my left. I mean, excuse me. And you know,
Yeah, Mark couldn't be here today. He's painting himself blue for the next Star Wars movie. So, what I loved about the series too is that they treated their characters like they were smart. For example, with the Riddler episode, Loren, your character is explaining how the game works to Batman. You're trying to save the life of this poor guy that the Minotaur is going to cut in half. So, with time running down, Batman decides, okay, we can't get there, so if I go down the wrong path, the hand of fate will come get me and I can hotwire him right there. Not many shows do that. They try and, you know, make the characters just stumble along, but I think that, you know, the writers really treat you guys.
You're talking about If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? Which is
Great title.
Which was a great title, and also one of my favorite episodes for me personally, because I actually became partners with Batman in figuring out, you know, a lot of the episodes were, what are we going to do, Batman? And in this one, we really worked as a team together, and that's what I love too, when the show evolved later into the Batman Adventures, and I was Nightwing, there was a lot of tension because we were partners, but we also were becoming like partners working on the crimes together, and that was really fun.
The writers in this series were so remarkable.
Amazing.
The thing is, I was very lucky that at this particular time in my life when we were making the initial series, I was doing a lot of other projects at the same time. And so you get scripts and scripts and scripts and scripts, and I would grab the Batman script first to read it because I knew it was going to be exciting, it was going to be interesting, it was going to be entertaining, it was going to have its casting challenges, but there was going to be something, some twist, some wonderful something. And they kept it throughout. How many did we make? Did we make like 100? I think we did.
Always over.
I think so. And there were different writers that came in and out, but I love the fact that you mentioned Randy Rogel before. Randy Rogel started writing on Batman the Animated Series and then went off to show us how incredibly talented he was at writing musical numbers for Animaniacs, where he wrote The Countries of the World that Yakko sings and The States and the Capitals and that wonderful work that he does that way. But he was a terrific writer on Batman, and they really found some remarkable people to write scripts for us. And everybody, it was during a time when everybody wanted to work on that show. Artists wanted to work on the show. Actors wanted to work on the show. Writers, musicians, everybody. And then Shirley Walker, we didn't even talk about Shirley Walker as a composer. Brilliant.
Every villain had their own theme, and it was so...
But the other thing Andrea has a really good, actors, people kind of lump us all in a big room together, or a big block together. Actors are just as diverse as people. There are generous actors and selfish actors, kind actors and nasty actors. Ones you really want to work with, and ones you just run away from. You think, please God, don't make me work with this person. They're just like people. They are people. And Andrea, I learned right away that the bookings were a very kind of safe zone. I felt very comfortable to go in there and explore and experiment because everybody was so generous. The thing I love about working with Loren and Diane and especially Mark Hamill was I know they want me to be good. They're not looking at me in a competitive way because they know the better I am, the better they'll be because I'll give them more. Mark, I watch him watch other actors. He has a very childlike quality about him. And he looks like a little kid enjoying the first movie he's ever seen when he watches an actor really hitting a home run. It's a wonderful thing to watch. And I sense him giving me that energy when I'm working with him. And that was your casting. There were no bad apples in any of those shows. Everyone was wonderful.
I've often likened casting to putting together a group of people for a party. Who's going to have fun together? Who's going to bring something to the party? Not just take, but give. And so, who do I want to spend 4 hours in a room with? A closed-in room with just a bunch of us together. And so, if I can put together a good party, I can put together a good cast. And so that's kind of the mentality I have about it.
With one famous exception. Not going to mention names. We've waited and we've waited and we've waited. It was like half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. Andre said, "Finally, come on, we're gonna record the show and we'll deal with her later." An hour and a half in, we're halfway through the show. She comes breezing in and says, breezing in, and says, "Oh, sorry, I just couldn't get out of the house today."
I know. I thought you're an actor. Come on,
Andrea
better
came over
lie
to me
than
really
that.
quietly and whispered in my ear, "Couldn't she lie?" We never saw her again.
No.
Another episode everybody loved, and it's actually a board game now. I haven't played it. It's called Almost Got 'Em, where everyone tells their favorite Batman story. Kevin, you were actually impersonating Killer Croc, and then of course the ruse ends. I'm curious, Batman trained in Japan as a samurai, and then he also learned some magic from Zatanna's father. Kevin, are you any good in a fight, and do you know any tricks?
I am good in a fight, but it's just because I'm so violent. I don't have any skills, but I will tear your head off. I'm really not artful. I'm not artful as a fighter, but man, do I have passion. That's the extent of my fighting. Just
Sheer energy.
When was the last time you got into a fight? Come on.
Well, Sister Josephine Marie.
She had it coming.
Yeah, last week I was in a bar fight. Maybe let me tell you with a nun.
So I'm curious, Diane, with talk of legalization of marijuana across the country, how do you think Poison Ivy would feel about that?
What a wonderful and absolutely upsetting question.
Because you are.
I mean, I'm trying to think. I personally think it's just fine, but poison ivy? Let me see, plants being used to get people high. I think she would like the hemp part because you can make baskets and purses out of hemp. You know something? I have no idea. If I was given a script where she had a particular reaction, I would play that and I hope played brilliantly.
Absolutely.
But no, I really have no opinion. Anybody else?
So I'm curious, if part of your contract was that you had to wear some sort of utility belt, like day in, day out in your real life, what would you keep on that for Kevin and Loren? What would be on your daily utility belt?
Wow, he's really stayed up nights
No.
to make these questions happen.
What would you put on there?
Lozenges.
Car keys, wallet, money clip.
I like to do carpentry, so I guess a really good skill saw. I'd come at you with my skill saw.
And then, I know a lot of people would like to see you guys reprise these roles. You guys did the Nerdist podcast, right? That was for Justice League. Is there any chance that maybe we could see something from Warner Brothers next?
What, a Justice League revival?
Or everybody with Batman in the DC
Oh,
universe?
we would love that. We would love.
As they say, from your mouth to God's ears.
They didn't stop making the shows because there wasn't a desire for the shows. The audience never lost demand for the shows. It was just the writers moved on. They wanted to do different things. The actors all wanted to do more. The audience certainly wanted more. They just wanted, the writers wanted to move on to new projects.
And I think that if it were to be done again, there would be an entirely new set of writers because people who were fans of the show as children are now old enough to be writers. And so that's probably where the writing staff would come from, is from people who were kids when the show was first on, because it was 27.
Yes.
And you know, we did a semi-reunion with this movie Batman and Harley Quinn, and I have things set up where I get Google alerts if anybody mentions anything in a blog or whatever it is. And there was, I mean, literally hundreds of people, and this is just the ones that I saw, of people saying, "I'm so happy to hear you and Kevin together again," over and over and over again. And I was like, gosh, I wonder if anybody at Warner Brothers is reading that, because, you know, and Diane has the same voice, we have the same voices, obviously, and so we would love to do this show again.
Yeah, I get lots of angry stuff on Facebook. Why aren't you still doing the voice? And I said, well, they moved on, because that's what you learn to say as an actor. But the bottom line is, I don't know. I mean, you know, I think, okay, they went with more names, because that's kind of the trend, you know, somebody's famous and something else. So let's get this little-known voice actress, me, who simply made a living, but was never a star. Let's get her out of the way and get somebody else. That's one possibility. The bottom line is I can do the character in my sleep right now. We don't really, I mean, until they become an old lady, we don't really change.
Well, June Foray worked until she was 90 years old, with the voice of Rocket J. Squirrel and Natasha. And
We were just talking about in the hall, talking about with you, how many people from the show are still around and still working and still could do it. You know, there's so many of us who would love to.
It will take fan notice to Warner Brothers saying...
You have your assignment.
Yes. You guys are in charge of telling Warner Brothers, okay?
I want to mention a piece of trivia that I'm in the middle of writing my autobiography, and so I was looking at some of my old notes that I'd written down about things, and there's a really interesting fact about Batman the Animated Series. The very first episode is On Leather Wings. It's the very first episode that ever aired. And the very first line of that episode is a helicopter pilot voiced by Kevin Conroy. And so the very first line of any Batman episode is voiced by Kevin, but not as Batman, which is kind of cool. A little trivia for you.
All right, so it's time for my exercise. Let's get some fan questions. All right, right here. What's your name, sir?
Hi, my name's Adam. I'm doing Red Hood. So my question is for Kevin Conroy. So there were two animated movies I saw back in the day where your voice wasn't part of the Batman. If you could choose the two to play Batman in those two movies, which one would it be? Batman during the Justice League Crisis of Two Earths, or Batman in Batman Under the Red Hood?
We tend to not watch stuff that's not ours. So he never watched those movies. I'd say Red Hood. I'd say Red Hood for him. That's a great film, isn't it? Do you guys know it, Under the Red Hood? Yeah.
I love the jacket. This is great.
Hi, my name's Graham, and I was going on to what Diane was talking about like the humanization of the villains. Like, what are your for everyone? What, because Batman's rogues gallery has so many humanized villains, except for maybe like Bane and Joker. Like, what your favorites are? You know, like Mr. Freeze and all that, where their backstories are more in depth, I guess.
I'm not sure what the ultimate question for that was. Who are our favorite villains?
Who are our favorite?
Who do you sympathize with the most, perhaps? I would say Clayface, even though you didn't ask me.
I could say the one thing I loved about the Arkham games, when they first sent the first script to me, Arkham Asylum, I thought, wow, Batman never kills. He doesn't kill. He arrests, and he puts them in Arkham. So, after all these years, there's this hospital in Gotham that has the most insane villains on the planet, all sitting in there just waiting for a video game. I thought, what a great idea to have Batman get trapped in there and have to fight his way out. And you encounter every villain from the whole universe. That was, I think, such a great idea about that game. But I've always been partial to Joker just because Mark Hamill and I had such a unique relationship. We're kind of yin to yang for each other. You know, I don't think Batman would be Batman without Joker, and Joker wouldn't be Joker without Batman. They sort of define each other.
Mr. Freeze has such a heartbreaking story about his wife, and I was very sympathetic with that.
I liked the episodes where I kind of went one-on-one with the villains, and so I'm very partial to John Glover's Riddler.
Yes.
I mean, he was phenomenal, and I had a lot to do with that. I had a lot to do in those episodes. I mean, and also with oh God, I'm blanking on his name, the Scarecrow, wonderful actor. No.
Who played the Scarecrow? Some electronic device.
Jonathan?
No.
Combs.
Who?
Combs?
Jeffrey Combs?
No.
Eventually, he did in another incarnation.
Anyway, so those are my Scarecrow and Joker. I mean,
Now I will
Riddler.
confess to you, I'm the only one up here that played a villain. And that means the only shows I'm really familiar with are the ones I was on.
See, we don't watch them if they're not on.
I mean, I've seen a few of the others, and maybe now it's time to go watch the whole series. But the bottom line is, actors, you know, the whole classic thing, bullshit, 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 my line.
That's an actor reviewing a script. Bullshit, bullshit, my line.
And because of that, I really only know myself, so I'm my favorite villain.
Very good.
That's very honest.
Hey Kevin, this question's for you, and I wanted to ask you that we all know like all the Arkham series, and like at the ending of Arkham Knight we saw this like darker version of Batman, and I want to know, do you think you still do another Batman game?
I'm not going to answer that. I can't answer that. That's left unanswered. Does he become the Joker? Does he go to the darkness? Does he go there? I think the fact that it's his laugh left hanging certainly implies that. I was so proud of the way Mark and I played that ending of that game. It was just, I was so proud of it. I loved it.
All right, Robin, right here in the front of them.
You guys say you got to work with all the voice actors inside the room. How was it working with the late and great Adam West?
It was awesome.
Awesome.
Great episode.
Grey Ghost.
What a wonderful episode that is. And I reached out to him because I knew him, I forget how I knew him earlier, and described what the story was, that it was kind of a has-been actor, the character was, and I didn't want him to feel like we were making fun of him in any way, and he was like, this script is fabulous, count me in, I'm on board. And then I had the good fortune to work with him on many things. He did a SpongeBob for us, and like a couple other things that he played on. And, but that's a wonderful episode, isn't it, The Grey Ghost?
And he was just a real gentleman. He was a really kind, gentle person, and wonderful to work with. I was a little trepidatious the day I met him. I thought, you're kind of stepping on someone else's cape, He's made his identity on this, and he sensed that in me. And he said, no, just have a blast. He said, I had a blast doing it. You will too. Run with it. It's yours now for a little while.
I guess I'll say one question from Adam West, since we lost him last year at Icon. This week you lost Margot Kidder, which brings me to my question. How come there's no love for Superman animated series? I love Batman, but I can't be the only one in here that likes Superman. It's a great series. I just feel like it doesn't get the love that Batman gets. It's very underrated.
Why doesn't Superman get the love Batman gets? And I think you're right. I think he doesn't because he's so boring. I'm kidding. No, Batman he's so dark. He's so complicated. But Superman is like, square-jawed apple pie. He's a good
He'll always
guy.
do the right thing. Superman will always do the right thing. Batman, because he's human, Bruce Wayne, human, he has flaws.
He might not.
He might kill somebody. He might. Superman's not going to, but Batman might.
It just came to me, Henry Pollock.
Henry!
So I was gonna throw that. I didn't want to go without. He was a wonderful actor. He's not with us anymore. I wanted his name to get out there.
Back here at the center.
Thank you.
Sorry. This is for Ms. Romano. You've had an incredible career, not just for the Batman animated series, almost 40 years with Hanna-Barbera. Which is the best notable project that you've experienced overall?
The single best project. You want to answer on a Batman panel?
Okay, besides that.
Pinky in the Brain. What? Who's your favorite child? Yeah. There's so many. Okay, I'll tell you my favorites. DuckTales. Animations. Pinky in the Brain. Batman. Justice League. Avatar: The Last Airbender. SpongeBob SquarePants. I did 5.5 years of working SpongeBob. What a fabulous show that was. What else? What am I forgetting? Teen Titans. Love Teen Titans. The thing was, I never really, after Hanna-Barbera where I was on staff, once I was freelance, I could pick and choose my projects. So when things were brought to me, and I could say, yes, I want to, or no, I don't want to, and so I don't know why, I had very good luck that I picked a lot of good ones to be a part of, and so they're all my children, I love them all, truly, I love them all. But Batman was great.
All right, we're moving deeper in the back here.
Hi guys, my name is Rocky. It's an honor, by the way. This question is for the whole panel. As far as advice, what would be the best advice that you would give an aspiring voice actor?
Take acting classes. Acting. It's all about acting. That's
People
first.
think that voice acting is about making funny voices. It's acting. It's creating, like I was saying earlier, it's the whole character. But you only have your voice to tell the story. And not everyone can do that. I saw people come in who were film actors, because it's gotten popular, they call it stunt casting. they bring in movie stars or television stars to do roles on voice shows because the name will help sell the show, whether they're right for the role or not. So a lot of really wonderful voice actors don't get those jobs anymore.
No, we don't.
No, I know. Because there are film stars who want to, you know.
It's not even just that, it's a business decision, and I don't agree with it, but sometimes my directive was given to me that they had to have X number of Twitter followers or more
Right.
for me to cast them, which is just hideous. I fought against that always.
Wow.
Just wanted to address
But,
that.
what was I
Acting
gonna say?
question. Acting, regular straight old acting
Oh, but
classes.
bringing in people like that, I saw some of them able to make the transition, but boy, some of them really couldn't.
Stage actors,
Because-
I think.
yeah.
Stage actors made the transition.
Stage actors were much better. Film, people who only did film, you never heard the performance because they always were relying on the camera to do a lot of the work for them. They were used to that. And they weren't giving anything. And you thought, Andrea would say, you know, they'd say, get out! And she'd say, no, that was great, but you do it, give us more, just give us more, just really, there's someone coming, running into the house, and you're telling your family to get out, or they're all gonna get killed. Okay, get out! Perfect, that was perfect. Okay, now, there's an army coming in the front door, and they're gonna wipe out your family, but you've gotta get them out of the house. Okay, I got it. Get out! That was fabulous. Okay, we're gonna try one more way. The Nazis and the communists are gonna rush in the front door. They're gonna burn your family down. You've gotta get them out. What are you gonna say? Okay, I got it. Get out. That was wonderful, thank you. That was perfect. Can we get another actor?
Never did that in front of the actor.
Never in front of the actor. But I saw that happen a number of times when it was a film person. You thought, this person's just, they think they're changing and they're not. They're just not getting it.
So to answer your question, acting classes,
Acting class.
and then voice acting classes, specifically voice acting classes. And take classes with groups because you learn a lot from the other students, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. And you do what I call stealing with love, which is somebody comes up with a voice, you do not do an exact impression of that voice, but you find some element in that.
You get
that
great
you can
ideas
use.
from it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Greg here in the very back row.
Hi guys, I just want to thank you. I remember growing up, being 8, watching Batman after school. As a teenager, watching Justice League.
Amazing, I was 8 when I recorded it.
And then now I come home from school and I see my daughter playing in Justice. I'm like, oh, evolution. But she's trying to power up Batman right now. I guess just thank you guys for everything. She loves Ivy as well. I guess my question is, if there's an Injustice 3, can we count on you?
Oh gosh, yeah, of course. When they don't use us for a project, people say, why didn't you do that project?
All the time.
Well, it's because they didn't ask me. You know, we're always game to do these things, but different director comes on and they want to put their own stamp on it. They get a different actor.
I've got time for two more questions right here, young man.
How do you think, like, over the years, what you added on to your characters has affected the way they were portrayed after that?
Well, your character evolved a lot over the years.
Do you mean after?
Youthful, very youthful.
See, I can still do it. I can still do it. And you were 8. Do you mean after the show and then iterations of things that happened after that, or within the show? I mean after the show. Well, listen, I can't speak for myself, but I know that Kevin is the iconic Batman, and I think he's the touchstone for every time that they do a Batman project. And I remember reading for a couple of projects where they wanted a Batman, and I said, what are you thinking? What are you doing that you wanted? Well, we want to do something different. But then very often they would come back to you and they would give. So I don't actually think there's been too many portrayals of Robin and Nightwing over the years, but there has been a lot of portrayals of Batman, and I think that Kevin absolutely has influenced every single one of them.
Yes.
I remember reading reviews of the live-action Batman movies where they said, why don't they pay attention to Batman the Animated Series? Why don't they pay attention to what Kevin Conroy is doing as Batman? And that's a wonderful compliment.
All right, and we're going to end with this young man here, Jack. I met him on the way in, so this should be a very good question, right, Jack?
Okay, so we were talking about the video games, Arkham games. How does your process for playing Batman change?
Oh, what a good question. It's night and day. You go into these bookings for an animated show, and as we were talking about, they get everyone in there together, and you're basically doing a play for 2 hours. It's all this interaction, this reaction, this camaraderie, it's a group of people together. When you do a game, because of the way a game is constructed, they have to have each voice completely separate. And you do line after line after line after line. Great, could you do that with a little irony? After line after line. Wonderful, keep the irony, now with a sense of humor. Line after line. I mean, for 4 hours alone in a booth. Then you get an hour for lunch. Then you go back and you do 4 hours more. And by the end of the day, you know, you're kind of talking like this. You can barely speak. And you're trying to keep the character alive. You're trying to stay in Batman. And you're doing Arkham Knight had 157,000 lines of dialogue. It was like doing War and Peace. It took 2 years to build. The reason they did Arkham Origins with different actors in the middle of the Arkham trilogy was because we were all working on Arkham Knight. They didn't even tell us about Arkham Origins. I didn't even know it was being worked on until it came out. Because I had been doing Arkham Knight for 2 years. So you don't get that juice you get from other actors when you do games. It's not why you go to Juilliard. It's not why you become an actor. You leave at the end of the day and you're sweating and you're wrung out and your voice is gone and you think, I hope this is going to be good when it's done because I don't know what the hell I was doing, you know.
It's out of context.
Because it's all out of context. It's line, you know, it's all disjointed out of context and it's all going to be pieced together in a computer. It's apples and oranges. It's such a different experience. They can't train you at acting school for that. I mean, it's just something you learn on the job. It's a different thing.
Guys, there's been a few panels before us. There's more after. I want to hear the loudest applause for the whole weekend right now. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.